Aloha, y'all. Daniel Aaron here, your guide to vibrant living with Spiritual Leadership Axiom number 4. By the way, axiom, not trying to use a fancy word, it just means law, principle, the way it is. And here it is, very simply. Environment counts. Who we surround ourselves with counts. Now, these principles, there are 40 of them. They come from my book, The Art of Spiritual Leadership, 40 Laws to Transform Your Life and the World. And one of my best experiences with this law came from something I spoke about recently, which is the first time I went to see Eckhart Tolle. I was living in Seattle. He was new on the scene. His book had just come out, the first one, what was it? The Power of Now. And he was speaking at this church. I went down there. It took me a while to find the place. I got there. There was like 500 people in this big church. I was a little shy. I sat in the back and I was just kind of watching, looking around. It was like pre-game moment. Up on the stage, it was quite a ways up there, there was a chair, a little table, a glass of water, and a microphone on a stand. Eckhart Tolle comes out from the side. He walks across, right, and there's like, the audience is just full of chatter. It's like pretty raucous, in fact. And he walks across, sits down in the chair, and because I'm on my own there, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm like watching all of this. I'm looking over the raucous audience and seeing him out there. And he just sits there. And he turns to one side of the audience, faces it, and then very slowly turns his gaze all the way around until in a couple of moments, I don't know, maybe 5 seconds, he looks across the whole audience. And this blew me away, y'all. In that time, the whole audience went from to like an incredible level of stillness. In Dr. David Hawkins, in many of his books, but even including in his seminal first notable book, Power versus Force, when he introduces the concept of the calibration system, the energetic scale, the consciousness scale. One of the things he points out in there is that one being vibrating on a very high level, you know, somebody like a Buddha or a Jesus or a Mother Teresa, can offset the lower vibrations of hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. That's the way consciousness works. And what I experienced, and the technical term for that, by the way, is entrainment. And what happened on that stage with Eckhart Tolle was entrainment, as in his vibration, his stillness, his presence tuned the entire audience to it. And what happened, by the time he got to the other side, that audience went from to some sense of stillness. Literally silence. It was like pin-dropping silence by the end of that. Jim Rohn, one of my favorite mentors, said, he's gone now, he's passed, "Ooh, we got a car coming, exciting, we're tuning into the vibration of an engine noise." He said, "You become the 5 people you hang out with most." That's interesting. And it's one of those ones that maybe for you, it is for me sometimes, inspiring and depressing. Inspiring because it means, well, if I want to create something in my life, well, I need to hang out with people who've created stuff like that. On the flip side, if I'm hanging out with people that are into stuff that's not suiting where I want to be in my life, whatever it is, habits, thoughts, complaints, behaviors, well, that means I need to separate if I want to create a different reality. Right? So, the law, the axiom is environment counts. Who you surround yourself with counts. Now, one last little principle here to apply with that. Sometimes when you go to the new environment, the people who have the results you want, the energetics that you want to tune into, when you get there, what do you think? Are you going to feel totally natural at home, like you fit in and comfortable? Or might you feel a little bit like, oh, I don't fit in here. Well, yeah, you got it. Because on some level, you don't fit in there yet. Because you are at a different vibration, not better or worse, just different. With different impact, different effects, different consequences. When I first joined Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership, right, which is kind of a very expensive inner circle kind of membership program of his, for which I paid a lot of money, and I was very glad I did it. Still, when I joined, I felt like an imposter. I remember the very first event I went to, it was Business Mastery. It's a $10,000 5-day event, and because I was now part of this exclusive Platinum Partnership group, it meant I would sit in the very front, in the exclusive front zone. Now, I didn't join because I wanted the status. I didn't want to be seen in that way. I joined because it made the most economic sense for me for what I was dedicated to, which was upgrading my own vibration so that I could be of better service to the world. And Tony is a master of transformation. So I got there, went up to my seat in the front, and I felt like such an imposter. I was stiff, uncomfortable. I had all these stories going on in my head. This person here and this person there, they must be so successful and wealthy and experienced and accomplished, and I don't fit in. And of course it was all just made up ridiculous stuff. For all I know, half of them had the same silly stories going on in their heads. It's just plain ridiculous what we can create in our heads that don't serve us. In any case, though, I was in an entrainment process, and I did not feel like I belonged, yet I stayed, sat through the discomfort, and of course, sooner or later, pretty soon, discovered they're just people like anybody else. I'm just another person like anybody else. And so when you are surrounding yourself with what you want to create, it might feel uncomfortable, it might feel unnatural at first. That's okay. I encourage you to stay with it and feel the feelings of discomfort. Maybe even speak into them. And stay with the environment, the people that are supportive for who you want to become. And the ones that you leave behind, well, as it's often said, you can kick somebody out of your home, but never kick them out of your heart. You can love them and choose that you are surrounding yourselves with another vibration. All right, y'all, I hope that that is interesting, that it makes sense. That's the 4th spiritual axiom. Environment counts. Who you surround yourself with counts. What do you think? What's your experience with this? Drop a comment. Let's have a conversation. Thanks for tuning in. Aloha.